Well, there are just 2 days until Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump face off for the very first time at Hofstra University in that debate. So what can we learn from past memorable debate moments? Here to walk down memory lane is former Special Assistant to President George W. Bush and the former Ohio State Director for the Romney presidential campaign, Scott Jennings. Scott has also been involved in debate prep for Senate congressional and gubernatorial candidates, so he knows a thing or two about the behind the scenes. Nice to see you again, Scott. Welcome back.
Yeah, good morning.
All right, let's go down memory lane and take a look at 1984 and this one-liner from Ronald Reagan, which really shifted everything. Watch this.
I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
There's also a failure of the moderator to not do any kind of a follow-up there. Maybe he was sort of like taken aback by it and said, I don't have anything to follow up with that home run you just hit.
Yeah, this was the brilliance of Ronald Reagan. He was able to take, and what was not a great debate, this was actually in Louisville, Kentucky, and he did not have a great night. And in fact, afterwards, he came out for a rally and mispronounced Mitch McConnell's name in his first election. And so it was a sort of a bad night for everybody. But what do we remember? One line. And so in terms of prep, having a line may be all that ever comes out. So he was gifted as a performer, but candidates should think about those kinds of lines because it may be all you get.
Sometimes they can come off great. Sometimes they can seem rehearsed, like we saw through the GOP primaries. It seemed like they were forced, like, all right, somebody fed them that line. Let's take a look at Michael Dukakis' response to the death penalty question in 1988. This is an ouch moment. Watch.
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard.
So I asked about his wife. Would you favor the death penalty? What about that moment?
Yeah, here's the thing about that question. It sounds like a policy question, but it's not. His campaign manager, Dukakis' campaign manager, later said this wasn't about policy. It was testing his emotional demeanor and connectivity with average people. He answered it like a cold set of talking points, and that's not a question you want to answer that way. So candidates, when they get these questions, there's a policy element, but you have to remember, folks aren't necessarily just judging you on policy. Do they have anything in common with you? And if you're a husband, that's not really something you'd have much in common with if you answer it like Dukakis.
1992, part of the narrative for George H.W. Bush that he seemed disconnected from the country at that moment, and that Bill Clinton was sort of embracing the public. And then George H.W. Bush ended up doing this during the debate. Remember, he just checks his watch as if he doesn't want to be there. That was a really bad moment for him.
Yeah, it really was. The watch checking was fed right into the Clinton narrative. You know, he was running as the emotional empathizer, and they wanted to show President Bush as aloof, not connected to people, didn't really want to be there, and they got their moment. It was an unspoken moment, but it's a good reminder for prep that words matter, but so does body language.
Words matter. Romney versus President Obama in 2012. Let's listen to him and the greatest geopolitical threat he says was Russia. Listen.
Months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because the Cold War's been over for 20 years.
What about that moment?
It was a little bit of a passive rebuttal from Governor Romney there. Obama got the best of him. It turns out that in retrospect, it wasn't true. Russia is our number one threat, but at that time, Romney didn't press the point. And so never let someone get between you and your key point, whether it's a moderator or your opponent.
Great stuff. Always great to watch this. We'll be watching on Monday night. Scott, great to see you this morning. Thanks for your expertise on this. We got